Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and enjoyed the company, the family, the friends, the food, the decorations, and here we are. It's just before the new year. I'm hoping you made some really festive jewelry that you can wear for New Year's. And now we're back to gemstones. I love working with gemstones. And the bracelet and necklace that I'm about to share with you today is a combination of very simple techniques, and yet it's just a little bit of a step up. So we are going to combine gemstones that are strung with a little bit of chain, which of course adds a lot of style to this bracelet. So just that little bit of chain kind of just changes the whole look from something that we would maybe have created a couple of decades ago to something that's very much on trend right now. And I have this bracelet in a couple of different colorways, and guess what? I wasn't quite sure when I made the bracelet, but we also have a necklace that matches. So we could either match or we could wear one or the other. And I think that these are just so much fun.
Katie S. says, happy Thursday, all.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much. And happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda. And happy Thursday to you.
Trudy says, hi, everyone.
And hello, Trudy. Okay, ladies. So we are just getting started. And I think I'm just going to keep one of these right here in front of me and remove the other, and we're going to get going. And I know that a lot of you are so very familiar with crimping and all the bells and whistles of crimping, such as crimp covers and wire guardians, all of those wonderful things. And so I'm just setting everything up right now, starting with our crimp covers and wire guardians. I think I need one more wire guardian.
Sharon says, hi, all.
Hi, Sharon, and thank you so much for joining us today.
CD says, hi, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, CD.
Allie says, cool project.
Thank you so much, Allie.
Katie S. says, love the look of these.
Thank you so much, Katie.
And Patricia says, good evening, all, and Happy New Year.
Hi, Patricia, and Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of you. Hopefully, this year brings us a lot of joy and new things and everything wonderful. Okay, guys, so I'm going to start by just reviewing wrapped loops a little bit, getting all my ducks in a row here. So I have this little, this is actually a gorgeous bead. It is part of, it's a part of our Hyperstein version of the bracelet. And it's these guys right here. And they are actually black tourmaline. They're beautifully faceted black tourmaline. And we're going to take one of our little black tourmalines and put it on a head pin, or rather a ball pin. And we are going to review making a wrap loop. So I like starting rather close to the bead, and I make a 90-degree angle. And then we're going to switch to our round nose pliers and just simply start making the loop. And once we have something that resembles a question mark like that, and you do not have to take your round nose pliers out, we're just going to finish the loop by guiding the wire just with our fingers. And I like to point the loop right at me so that I can see whether it is centered. And if it's not, I roll it in a little bit like I just did. And now we switch to our chain nose pliers and make a little wrap right into that little space I left between the bead and the loop. So once you have coiled into the entire space, we're just going to cut off the excess wire and pinch in that little end just like that. Just pinch it in so it doesn't stick out. And we just made a little component.
Jeline says hello.
Hi, Jeline, and thank you for joining us.
Kim K says happy Thursday, everyone.
Hi, Kim, and happy Thursday. Okay, ladies, we're going to do the same exact thing one more time, except that this time, our little wrapped loop component is just going to be connected to something else. And this time I'm using one of those wonderful cubies that I love to use in so many different projects. So I'm going to start out in the very same way. And before I actually do the wrapping, I will connect it to a little chain. And the reason we're connecting it to a little chain, this little chain right here, you can see those large loops in the chain. So the reason we are connecting this to the end of the chain is because this is going to be our extender. So I like a little bobble at the end of the extender just so that it looks finished, because when it's just a chain, it doesn't quite look finished. So I wrapped into the space between the loop and the bead, but now I'm going to make it a bigger, a more organic wrap, something like this. This is where I'm going from the bead to the loop. So I'm actually wrapping over the first wrap. And the reason to do this is maybe you like the look of it. In this particular case, I actually like doing this because the hole in the QB is a little bit on the larger side. And so this helps it to stay in place and not wobble quite so much. So now I'm just going to pinch in the end and done. So these components are ready to go whenever we are ready. And in the meantime, I made 2 more wrap loop components. So I have a hyperstein oval and a cubic zirconia, little 4mm cubic zirconia bead. And so I'm just going to show you where all these fun little components are going to go. So this is kind of like a little cluster of baubles on one end, and we're going to use that next to the clasp. And you're probably wondering, where is the chain going? And it's going on the opposite side. This is our extender chain, and you can see the little QB. Now, you might notice that the chain I have on the bracelet consists of only 3 links, but the chain I'm using right now is 5 links. So it's entirely up to you. You can use 3 links, you can use even 2 links, 5 links, whatever makes you happy. So if you feel that this little extender is a bit too long for your bracelet, you can always cut it down. But of course, the advantage of having an extender chain is especially when you give the bracelet to someone else, when it's a gift and you don't quite know what their actual size is. So this is always a good thing to do because this adds an extra inch to our finished piece.
Barb says joining late, but I'm here.
Hi, Barb. Thank you for joining. You're not even that late. We started a little late, well, kind of as per usual. There's always something that happens, sometimes, well, more often than not. It's Facebook that's being a little temperamental. So really, you did not miss a whole lot.
Joan says happy Thursday and happy New Year. Love the bracelet.
Thank you so much, Joan, and happy New Year to you, my friend. Okay, ladies, so I am starting on one end of the soft flex wire. And for anybody who is new to soft flex wire, or maybe you're new to my videos, but especially to soft flex wire, this is a very flexible wire. It is intended for stringing. What's inside the very thin plastic tubing is multiple strands of very strong wire, and this does not knot. So because of that, we have to use that little finding called a crimp. And so I have my crimp on here. Now I'm going to go through the wire guardian. And the wire guardian is this little horseshoe-shaped finding. And it has two little tubes, one on each side. So right now I'm just going through the one little tube, as you can see. And now I will go around the finding and into the next tube. And so you can see that the two ends of the wire come out on the same side, and we're going to put them both into the crimp. So you don't need a whole lot of a tail here because that's going to end up being cut off. In the meantime, I like to bring the two sides of the wire guardian a little closer so that I can push up the crimp just a little bit. And still, I do want a little bit of space between the crimp and the wire guardian. Not a whole lot of space. The only reason I want a little space, like maybe a millimeter or even half a millimeter, is so that I have space for my crimp cover. So now we have a crimper, and the crimper, as you can see, has two openings. One of them is shaped like a kidney bean, and the other is shaped as an oval. We're going to use the kidney bean shaped opening first and line it up with the crimp and give it a nice squeeze. And what that's going to do is, you can see it changes the shape of the crimp. It gives it kind of like a little channel. And now we're going to use the remaining opening, the oval one, and we're going to give it another good squeeze. And so now it's folded over. So it's folded over almost like a little book if you look at it closely. And now we're just going to cut off that little piece of wire. We don't need it anymore. This is just our excess soft flex wire. And before we start stringing, we are going to put our crimp cover. Okay, so our crimp cover does not want to go on. So we actually, so if we look at the shape of the crimp cover, it looks like a little Pac-Man. So one side is open, and we're going to put our chain nose pliers into the open side. And I apologize, I know this part is kind of hard to see, but what I'm doing is I'm going to open the nose of my chain nose ever so slightly, making this little opening just a little bit larger. And now we should be able to fit our crimp cover right over our crimp. Sorry, again, I'm kind of, I'm just trying to fit it in. And there it is. Okay, so now we have our crimp fully inside the crimp cover, I'm actually going to just kind of push it in with my chain nose pliers just a tiny bit. And now I am going to use my chain nose pliers to start closing the crimp cover. And once you get to the point where the two sides are touching and yet you still have that large opening, we're going to shift our chain nose pliers so that one side is right on top of one side closest to the seam. And give it a nice little push or pinch, I guess, but very gently this time. Unlike the crimp, just be very tentative and gentle as you do this. So now I'm just going to turn around my crimp cover and we will close this little bead, because once you, and you can see I am just being very tentative. So once you close it, it literally just looks like a little round bead. You would not even know that this was open at one point.
Allie says, good review of the Wire Guardian. Do Wire Guardians hold different sizes of soft flex? I have some but haven't used them. The holes channels are small.
Yes, Ellie, thank you so much. That's a great question. You can use any size soft flex with these Wire Guardians. What's more important actually is that the crimp you're using is a 2x2. Because if you're using a 2x3 crimp, it's just going to be a little bit too long to fit into a Wire Guardian. So as long as you use a standard 2x2 crimp, we are golden. Okay, ladies, so now I'm going to grab a few more beads and just set some of these other little components aside for now. And we are going to start stringing. So I'm going to need some of the Q beads, and I also need some 11O seed beads. These are those really nice hollow seed beads that I adore. They're metal, and as opposed to glass, which is what most seed beads are going to be. And they just work so nicely. So there's my Hypersteam, and I also need 6 little, well, actually they're not that little, they're 6 millimeters. So I'm also using 6 of the black tourmaline.
Allie says, awesome, thanks. I will test out my stash.
Oh, yay! Good luck. You'll have to tell me how it went, Allie. Okay, ladies, so let me just show you the end of this bracelet. So I start with a QB and black tourmaline, another QB, and so forth. You can really see the pattern of this, right? But if you need to make this a little bit longer, you actually have quite a few QBs, and you can start with multiple QBs, kind of like what I did on the necklace. So the necklace has, you can see the necklace has 3 QBs, and I spaced them out with 11 beads. So just use those QBs if you need to size your bracelet for your wrist. And the same idea, obviously, if you need a shorter bracelet, you can always skip something here or there and just create it so that it fits you. So before I start, actually, let me point out that, do I have a ruler here? You know what, it would be so, oh yes, I have a ruler right here actually. It was just on the other side of me. So the segment that we are about to make on my necklace,
Bracelet.
I'm sorry, bracelet, thank you, Tony. So the segment, the beaded segment, I should say, is about 5 3/4 inches. And the length of the bracelet, if I were to include the 3 extra links, is we'll just say 7.5 inches. So what that means is that between all of our little findings, we're going to get an extra 1.5 inches. Wait a minute, no, extra 1.25 inches. And if you use all 5 links, then you get an extra 1.5 inches. So potentially you could lengthen your bracelet by an extra 1.5 inches if you use all the links in the extender chain. So keeping that in mind, we'll work backwards. Let's say we want to make a 7.5-inch bracelet. Well, what that means is we probably want to use exactly the same number of beads that I do. So I believe the maximum length of the bracelet is about 8.5 inches, possibly a little bit more. It could be closer to 9, but I guess I just remember that it's at least 8.5. So we are going to start stringing. And right now I'm making a bracelet that's very similar in length to the one that I have in front of me. So I'm just going to start with one of the QBs. Oh, and on this one I just noticed, at least on one side, no, on both sides actually, I started with a seed bead, and you can, or you don't have to. So really you can't exactly go wrong making this bracelet. Whatever you do, I'm sure it will be beautiful.
Kathy K says 7.5 inches. Sounds like my size.
Yay, perfect. We're twinsies. You know, most of my samples pretty much fit me. And this way it's kind of like the middle of the road. They will fit a lot of people. And so I'm just following the exact pattern that I have in my samples. So that pattern is start with a QB, then a tourmaline, then another QB. Then after those 3 beads, we have an 11/0 to separate that segment. And now we're just going to continue with the same pattern. So once I have an extra bead or a seed bead on the other side of the hyperstein oval, I'm just going to string another QB and another black tourmaline and so forth. It's just going to be the same exact pattern.
Katie S. is wondering, what color is the hyperstein? Is there color besides black?
Oh, thank you for asking. You know what? It's almost like you read my mind, because I was just thinking, this hyperstein as well as the kyanite is so beautiful. So here, let me talk a little bit about both colors actually. So the hyperstein, I know it's probably closest to black. However, it's actually more like a really, really dark, rich brown. It has this beautiful chatoyancy, almost like a cat's eye. And it definitely has a hint of very dark, dark chocolate brown. So it's somewhere in between a black and a rich, warm brown with a lot of chatoyance. And then there is, so let me first say, so the hyperstein beads are beautifully high polished. And then of course the black tourmaline is faceted, beautifully faceted. So now let's move on to the kyanite. I love kyanite so much. I do love both of these actually, but kyanite is really one of my favorite stones in the world. And kyanite can be a little bit of a chameleon. And you're seeing that chameleon quality in this bracelet, because what we're seeing is kind of like, is it green? Is it blue? is a teal. So to me, it's kind of like a dark teal, but it also has some brown inclusions. And then of course the hematite cubes that I have in between are a teal color. And I will say that the kyanite beads are a lot more, how can I say this? They're more primitively cut. They're created entirely by hand. So on some of them, you will actually see where the bead was cut. I do not think that it takes away from the piece at all. In fact, I feel it really gives it a lot of interesting character because each bead is just a little bit different in both size and shape, color. So when you get your kit, your kyanite kit, I would just play with the beads and maybe put the larger beads in the center, because you will, with the kyanite, you will always have slightly smaller, slightly larger. So just position them so that it's really flattering to the piece.
Allie says it's really versatile.
Thank you so much, Allie. Okay, guys, so we are just going to continue stringing. And you know, while I'm stringing, there's really not a whole lot for me to say. So if you want to share some of your favorite things you did during the holidays, I would love to hear it. So in the meantime, I'm just stringing exactly the same pattern of black tourmaline, hyperstene, and you know what? In the black tourmaline, it's really difficult to find the holes because these beads are just so beautifully cut, and you know, given that they're black, it, you know, that hole likes to hide a little bit. Okay, so remember, you know, oh, extra bead. We don't want that guy. So before you even start stringing, I would really suggest that you figure out just how long you want this bracelet, and then subtract either 1.5 inches if you're planning to use the entire 5 links of chain. Or if you're using less chain, then I would subtract 1.25 inches from your total desired length.
Allie says satisfying project in a good amount of time.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie.
Katie says, with no snow, I made a veggie and fruit person with my grandson on Christmas Eve for the deer and wildlife to eat.
Oh my God, how adorable is that? What a sweet idea. Are you going to share a picture of your fruit person on our Facebook page? I would love to see it. That would be so fun. Okay, ladies, so we have a total, oh, no, I'm not ready for the black tourmaline just yet. So we have a total of 5 hyperstene beads and 6 of the black tourmaline. And normally I'm not necessarily about the symmetry, but for this bracelet, I really feel like symmetry works. So let's just stick with that. Of course, you can mix it up and, you know, rearrange the beads, but, you know, weight-wise, it may be, depending on what it is that you do, weight-wise, it may be actually better to keep it pretty balanced.
Katie said she's going to try and share it the next time she's on her phone.
Oh, thank you so much. It sounds so cute. Okay, ladies, so this is our next set. And, you know, I figured this is a short enough project, just like Allie said. It's very satisfying to just sit down and make a project from start to finish. And, you know, I just realized that 2 of my crimp covers are stuck together. Sometimes they like one another, and sometimes if you just throw them like that, it works and they will separate, but it is not happening for me right now. So we'll just do it a different way. So I'm just going to use my flat nose and my chain nose and separate them. And, you know, sometimes it works amazingly well when you just kind of drop them and they separate.
Katie says she just realized it's her profile photo.
Oh, fantastic. That's awesome.
And Kim K says, we enjoyed Christmas Eve at my daughter's house. This is the first time that I wasn't the host of our celebration, so relaxing.
Oh, how fun. What a great milestone, isn't it? Yeah, we have a few years before milestones like that, but I look forward to it. Okay, guys, so we are just repeating all the steps from when we started. And so once you have all of your beads strung, just go ahead and use a crimp. And then after the crimp, we have a wire guardian. And just as before, I'm just going to use my crimper to bring the two sides of the wire guardian together a little bit. And again, you always want just a little tiny bit of extra room. So I'm making sure I have that extra room. And now we are going to crimp. And just remember to always line up the crimp so that it is entirely hidden by the opening, and then you cannot miss. Look at how beautiful that crimp is. And we're going to crimp it again and fold it over once more. And when you crimp, don't worry about damaging anything. You can do it as hard as you want. In fact, you know, really do it like you mean it.
Patricia says, I mixed some leftover popcorn and peanut butter into balls. Some came apart and put it outside for the birds and squirrels, and it's all gone.
Oh, good job. Yay. We do that too. Not necessarily with although we did just give them popcorn. But yes, we put everything out for the animals. And yeah, they eat it. So we feed the deer, the raccoons, everybody. The squirrels, of course. The squirrels are my buddies. So you know, when I actually sit at my desk and work, sometimes squirrels watch me because I have a squirrel feeder just outside of my window. And I just opened this a little bit more, just as before. And now I'm going to slip it right over my crimp.
Lori says, good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lori. So nice to hear from you.
Kathy K says, I'll be popping in your shop tomorrow to use a gift certificate from my daughter.
Oh, how sweet. Yay, we'll see you tomorrow, Kathy. Okay, guys, so again, just as before, I am closing my crimp cover. And in order to make this really nice and neat and rounded, I'm really taking my time and turning it around and closing that little seam. So just take your time when you do this and it will work out beautifully. Okay, so that is all of the stringing. So I'm just going to do a little housekeeping and get rid of some of my beads before we continue. And so now we are going to do a little assembling. So when you look at your chain, you get, I don't know, how much chain do we get with this kit? Let's measure it just for fun. So you get 7 1/4 inches of chain, which makes sense for a longer bracelet. But for my bracelet, which measures exactly 6 1/2 inches, I'm going to cut my chain to 6 1/2 inches. So I think this one is going to actually be just a little longer than my other sample. So we're going to cut the chain at 6 1/2 inches and remove the extra links. And so now these two should be very, very close in length.
Lori says, thank you. Sorry to be late. Worked only 2 days this week. Off again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, another day off. That's wonderful. Okay, guys, so now we're going to start assembling. And on one end, we are going to have, we're using 8mm jump rings for this. These are quite large. And so we're going to open our jump ring. And you remember, as we open the jump ring, we're going to kind of wiggle it a little and overlap it just a tiny little bit. Okay, so now when I say overlap, I'm bringing the two sides of the jump ring just ever so slightly closer. So now I'm stringing my strung part of the bracelet on the jump ring. Then my chain goes on. Then I am going to string all my cute little baubles in whatever order you like. And finally, I am going to put my clasp, and this is one of those really fun, what do we call these?
Swivel clasp.
Thank you, Tony. Swivel clasps. So this is a clasp that works so beautifully with anything that's more than one strand. Because you know how when you have a bracelet that's more than one strand, it tends to twist and then the strands don't ever quite lay right. But this will, because of that swivel clasp. Okay, ladies, so you can see how I'm doing a little wiggle and at the same time pushing the two sides closer together so that when I close it, there's going to be a little click. Did you hear the little click? Okay, and so that means there's no room between the two sides of my jump ring. So one side is done. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, except that we don't have quite so many components to connect together. But we're going to be connecting the strung part of the bracelet, the beaded strand, then the chain, and finally, remember our chain, our little extender chain with the little bauble, and that goes into the jump ring as well, and then we'll close the jump ring in the very same way.
Patricia is wondering if we sell those wire cutters.
Absolutely, Patricia. It's the best wire cutter in the world. Do we have them in the Etsy shop?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. So just please check them out in the Etsy shop. It's a cutter that I swear by.
And Kim K says that chain is so pretty. Is it available in the Etsy shop?
I don't believe it's available in the Etsy shop, but what you can do is just I don't know, what can we do? Can she just ask for it and we send her a
Shoot us
quote?
an email.
Yeah, just email us. We'll send you a quote on how much it is, and then you can decide if you want to order it. So in the meantime, we just finished the bracelet. It's just that quick. Now let's see if I can actually clasp it all by myself, and I did. Woohoo! So this is what it looks like.
Patricia says thank you.
My pleasure, Patricia.
And CD says, is it important to use a stronger gauge for the chain?
CD, well, you could probably use a lighter chain, but I feel like visually it needs to balance the beaded strand. And the beaded strand is a bit on the chunkier side. It's, it has a lot of visual weight. So I think it's nice to use a chain that's a bit chunkier like this. And I feel like it adds so much. The reason I chose this chain is because visually it adds so much style to the bracelet. Not only is it a bit heavier, I like that it's matte. It's a little bit matte. It's not like very matte. It's a little bit antiqued, and shape-wise, it's very complementary to the cubies. So that's my rationale.
Fonda says such a cute bracelet.
Thank you so much, Fonda. Okay, ladies. So I just have a couple of things to say about the rest of the pieces. So we have the Hyperstein bracelet and we have the Kyanite bracelet. And it's made in exactly the same way. Really, the only thing that's going to be a little bit different is that some of the kyanite beads are going to vary in sizes. And that's why I mentioned please lay them out before you actually do the stringing. And as you can see, I positioned my largest bead in the center.
CD was wondering for the extender if it should be a stronger chain.
Oh my gosh, CD. Yes. So, thank you for asking, actually. So, I know this appears very, very dainty, the extender chain, but it is in fact very strong because if you are using a dainty chain for something like this, which is obviously going to hold your entire bracelet, please make sure that it's soldered because as you probably know, some chain is soldered, some chain is not soldered. Generally, when we have chain that's not soldered, it's heavier links like this, which are absolutely not going to open up. But should you use something that looks dainty, just make sure that all of the links on the chain are closed and soldered.
Kim K says, I love this bracelet. It looks vintage, but also modern in the design.
Thank you so much for saying that. You know what? I can see that as well. It has elements of boho, yet it's very modern. And because of the antiqued metals, I feel like there is kind of an element of vintage, which I really enjoy. So I do want to share just a couple of quick differences in how to make the necklace. So instead of making a whole necklace, I'm just going to do a tiny bit of deconstructing and I will show you what's different.
Allie says, what kind of chain is this called? Is it a box?
You know what, Allie? That's a very good question. I don't know. It probably is some type of a box. Not entirely sure.
Patricia says it looks like the jump rings are oval. Maybe
Patricia,
on the extender chain.
the extender chain consists of oval links, yes. However, the jump rings are actually round. So I am just deconstructing a little bit of the bracelet, the necklace. And this way I can show you exactly how to go about making it. Okay, so I am opening a couple of jump rings so that we can take it all apart. It's like all fun little components. And I'm just going to take the little tiny jump ring just of one end. But I do have them on both ends. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the length. So with the kit, you get 30 inches of chain. However, not everybody's going to want 30 inches of chain. I believe I cut mine to either 27 or 28. So for somebody who is, say, 5'4", that's a really great length. If you're a little taller, a little more willowy, maybe make it a little longer, or you can always make it shorter as well. But one of the features of this is that it does not have a clasp. So it's something that goes over your head. So should you make it really short, then you'll just have to add your own clasp. But in the meantime, so this portion of the necklace is made exactly like the bracelet. In my case, with a little addition of a couple of the cubies on either side. And again, you can add the cubies, you can forget the cubies. You do have extra cubies, so you can make it a little longer. So given that it's not a bracelet at this point, it's a necklace we're making. So one of the big differences is that when you get your chain, keep in mind that normally we make our, depending on how you want it to hang, of course, for most projects, my rule of thumb is make the shorter strand 1 inch shorter. So this is actually exactly 1 inch shorter than the beaded strand. So make the beaded strand first, and then you can measure your chain. Of course, you probably have your own preferences. You can do it differently. So if you want yours to look like mine, make it 1 inch shorter. And I will also make it a point to model it so you can see how long it hangs. So we're going to connect the two sides, and we actually have 2 sets of jump rings. So keep in mind, well, you know what, just so that this is completely realistic, I'm going to take the other little jump ring off as well. This is very quick. So you're going to have 2 sets of jump rings, because as I was creating this necklace, I realized that it's rather difficult to get through these little links. This is kind of a medium fine chain, and it's a bit difficult to get through it with these heavier jump rings. And yet, in order to have all of our pieces hang correctly, we need the heavier, larger jump rings going through these 2 strands. And that is why I have 4 jump rings instead of just 2. So we have 2 slightly larger ones at about 4 millimeters, and then we have 2 smaller jump rings, about 3 millimeters. And so we are going to connect the 2 components, the 2 strands first, by putting them into 1 ring, and just as before, we're going to bring the 2 sides close, and we want to hear that little click, right? So let's go for that. So it's a little more difficult with a smaller jump ring, so sometimes I'll just put my chain nose right over it and click it like that. So either way, that click is a good sign. It's a sign that we don't have any space between the 2 sides of the jump ring. And now we're going to do the very same thing on the other side. So again, bring the 2 sides together and a nice click. Okay, so now we are going to use our smaller jump ring, put it inside the larger jump ring, and now we're also going to connect it to one of the chain ends. So here we go. The chain just goes right onto that little jump ring. And you know, it is a small jump ring. If you're comfortable, just go ahead and use your flat nose pliers. If not, if you have a tapered flat nose, which you know what, I'll use a tapered flat nose for the next one. And okay, this one does not want to click, but I can tell that it's closed very, very tightly. So we're good. Okay, so now, before I connect my other side, I'm just going to drop the chain and let gravity straighten the chain. So, because you know, as it just kind of rolls on the table, it may get a little tangled and then it's going to hang a little wonky. So it's always a good thing to just drop the chain and let gravity untangle it. And yes, I said I would use the tapered chain nose. Remember, it's this yellow tool with a very fine chain nose. So if you close a lot of little tiny jump rings, or maybe you do a lot of wrap loops, this is a wonderful tool. And that's it. We're done. So that is all there is to making the necklace. And so this is what it looks like. And I think I'm going to model it. Let's see, which one?
Allie says, so cute.
Thank you so much, Allie.
Can we see
I think this is a little too blendy.
Can we see that one on the gray before you model it?
Oh, absolutely. So this is what the kyanite one looks like. And I think I will model the Hyperstein because I think it will stand out better against my shirt. Hi, ladies. Okay, so what do you think? Can you guys see it? Is it too long? Can you see it?
Yeah, that's cute. It's a little long. You're a little far away, but it looks
Should I
good.
stand up? Will it be better if I stand up?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Kim K says, beautiful necklace.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And Allie says, so cute.
Thank you, Allie. So what do you think? So this is about how long it is on somebody who is like 5'3", 5'4". That would be me.
Allie says, great length for layers.
Yeah, I love layers. And I know you guys do too. Well, at least some of you do. So, so we finished the necklace, we made the bracelet, and I believe we're just about done. Of course, I'm going to do a little preview once I lay all my fun little pieces out here. And, you know, it just occurred to me, this is all very wintry, you know, it's like all dark tones and very wintry. And these are pretty much all the colors that I wear in the winter. I wear a lot of black and of course I love blues, I love dark teals. I wear other colors. I mean, I have never met a color I don't enjoy, but these are my go-to colors.
Fonda says, beautiful.
Thank you so much, Fonda.
Lori says, thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you.
CD says, lovely.
Thank you, and I hope you guys have a beautiful evening. But wait, there's more, you guys. There's more.
Carmen says, very pretty.
Thank you so much, Carmen. Okay, so let's talk about what's coming up. Tomorrow, I have a super fun, very diverse shopping event. There's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There is vintage Swarovski. There are vintage stamped components like vintage, if you like vintage. There's Patricia Healy, if you know who Patricia Healy is. She's a wonderful artist who works with copper. So I have a little bit of her work. I have some really great closeout strands at awesome prices. So I hope you join me for tomorrow's shopping event. Of course, it's a live event, and it starts at 9 o'clock. And this is, again, tomorrow, Friday, December 29th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica page.
Kim K says, is the kyanite blue or green? It looks much more green on the screen. Thanks so much for sharing this design.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. So I believe it's closer to green. It's not a true green. It definitely is a green with a bit of blue in it, but it's closer to green. I'm going to say it's more green than blue, but to me it's really kind of a dark teal. And it does have some kind of I would say brown, slightly rusty colored inclusions. I love this color. I just really love kyanite in general. And I love this kyanite. Green kyanite is a lot more rare than blue kyanite. Okay, ladies. So to continue with our preview, so as I mentioned, tomorrow we're having a super fun shopping event. And then next Thursday, so this looks a little similar, as you may have noticed, to our Unchained bracelet and necklace. So this is a different interpretation of kind of the same trend. I mean, it's a really strong trend, and there's so many different ways to interpret the trend. And I love working in these sort of blocks of different exploration of a similar design. So this may look similar. It's actually quite different in technique, and even look-wise, it's very different. Not just because of the materials used, but also the spacing of the Swarovski crystal. And here, instead of stringing and chain, we have wrapped loops and then leather. And this is a necklace that I called Crystal Flight Necklace. And we're doing this Thursday, January 4th. That means next year. We're making this necklace next year. And so again, January 4th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page. And that is our plan, ladies. We're already planning for next year. And this, of course, is the same chain, but look how different it looks in this design, right? Don't you think this looks so different? This is sort of a project where, color-wise at least, I'm looking forward to spring. I'm looking forward to Valentine's Day. So really, Valentine's Day is the inspiration for this colorway. And I will have other colorways still to be decided, really, because I haven't decided on what the other colorways are going to be. What do you think I should do for the other colorways? We probably need some blues, because blues are always, a must. And let me know in the comments if you think we should have any other colorways. And in the meantime, I believe we are all done, and we are just about ready for tomorrow.
Kim K says, Valentine colors. This is so pretty.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Fonda says, kyanite is one of my favorite stones.
Oh, yes, it's so special, isn't it, Fonda?
Allie says, love the shades of pink.
Yay, thank you so much, Allie.
Karen says, I have infusion in the mornings on Fridays. I will watch the replay.
Oh, Karen, good luck. And yes, please do watch the replay. I literally just talked to somebody who was talking about the shopping event videos on Fridays, and she actually did not realize she can watch the replay and order from that. But you can always watch the replay and order from that. The sooner you watch, the more likely it is that we're not yet sold out of the items. So yeah, good luck tomorrow, and please watch the replay.
And if you watch the replay, do email us, please.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
If you'd like to place an order.
Yes, of course, of course.
Barb says, ordered a bracelet right away. Is the necklace also available as a kit?
Yes, absolutely, Barb. Thank you for asking.
The Crystal Flight is not available till next week. But
Well,
the
no,
other
she
two
ordered
here.
the bracelets. So everything that I demoed today, so this is a preview for next week, of course. And if you were able to order one of the bracelets, oh, and which one did you order? So if you were able to order a bracelet, you should be able to order a necklace. Everything at this point is listed in the Etsy shop. It should be very easy to find in the As Featured on Facebook section.
Sharon says, great project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Kim K says, icy blue colors would be pretty.
Yes.
And Patricia says, thank you for the demo. Loved it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patricia. And Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all your comments. I love that you're watching. I love that you're enjoying. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful and creative evening. I will see you tomorrow.